Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And one thing that's really had some fans concerned over the last couple days is the lack of that single-player campaign for Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite was shown off this week at Gamescom with a cinematic multiplayer trailer. We got to see a new Xbox Series X limited edition console, as well as an Xbox Elite version 2 controller that resembles Master Chief. But we still have not seen that reintroduction to the single-player campaign for Halo Infinite. And some fans are a little bit concerned. And well, that's what we're actually going to talk about today, because 343 Industries did explain why that single-player campaign was not there at Gamescom this week. And then also over in Nintendo World, they did a very Nintendo-ish thing, and they shut down a promising project that some fans are a little upset about, but I think that the writing was just kind of on the wall. I'll explain all of that here in a little bit as well. But with that said, let's just go ahead and jump right into the video. And today we're going to start the video off with yet another Nintendo Switch exclusive heading over to PC via Steam. And that would be Moon Remix RPG Adventure. Now, a lot of you all probably don't even recognize this game. I actually did list this as one of the best hidden gems for the Nintendo Switch earlier this year, so if you watched that video, you might have seen this one. But this was a game that originally released back in 1997 in Japan. And well, this game did come over to the Nintendo Switch last year, and now it's heading over to PC as well. And this is something that I think fans should be paying attention to. This is actually a pretty good game, and it's very unique, to say the least. This game's always described as an anti-RPG, and basically what that means is instead of playing the quote-unquote hero, you actually play as somebody who has to clean up the mess that the hero constantly makes. As an example, all of those monsters that the hero kind of slaughters across the universe, well, you're going to go out there and you might have to save these innocent monsters along the way. So it's an amusing little game and definitely a unique take on the JRPG formula. And, well, you know what? Undertale fans might actually want to pay attention to this one, because Undertale was actually partially inspired by Moon. I know a lot of people like to talk about Earthbound when they talk about Undertale, but in terms of the gameplay, Moon is actually somewhat similar to Undertale, and that's for a very good reason. And if there's anything about the Undertale fanbase, I'm just going to go ahead and say that you all are enthusiastic, to say the least. And well, if you did like Undertale, you might want to check out Moon Remix when it does launch over on Steam, or you can go check it out on the Nintendo Switch, which it's already available on over there. Now, Moon Remix unfortunately does not have a release date just yet over on Steam, but you can add it to your wish list if you want. Moving on, we actually have some news for the hit Metroidvania style game, Blasphemous. Now, Blasphemous is one of the better Metroidvania games available right now, but what's really interesting about this specific title is that even though it released back in 2019, and this is an independent game, it's actually received a few different expansions. The last expansion, The Stir of Dawn, was quite beefy as well, adding in a whole new area to the map, as well as New Game Plus mode, and even new bosses. So you got quite a bit of extra content there, and well, they're actually going to expand this game even further with another expansion that will be releasing on December 9th. This will be Wounds of Eventide. And yeah, if you did like Blasphemous, that's really good news all on its own. But it actually gets even better than that, because they also confirmed that Blasphemous 2 is in development and is now being planned for a 2023 release. So fans of Blasphemous, or really the Metroidvania genre as a whole, this is definitely good news. And that is something that I've really enjoyed in the last couple years. We have really seen in the last couple years, the Metroidvania genre has just absolutely exploded. I mean, of course, we got the big titles like Ori, you have Hollow Knight, there's Axiom Verge, and so on and so forth, but there's also these really good titles like Blasphemous as well. And actually, we do have two other Metroidvania games to talk about here as well, because over at the Future Game Show, we got a couple cool Metroidvania-related announcements. And the first of which is Imp of the Sun, which boasts a pretty colorful art style. It does have some pretty vibrant colors going on here, and it was actually inspired by Peruvian culture. I'll be interested to see how that turns out, but this one did kind of remind me a little bit of Ori. Not exactly, but in terms of the movement and even really the way the music was set up, it did kind of remind me of Ori just a little bit. So I'm going to kind of keep an eye on that one. It will release on PC early 2022. Now, this next one, though, really stood out to me for its striking pixel art graphics. I thought this one looked really good in motion, and that's 9 Years of Shadow. Yeah, you can see right away that this game looks really fluid, and interestingly enough, this is actually being explained as a heartfelt Metroidvania. They did say that there's going to be some heart-wrenching moments in this game, as they're promising a game about healing through embracing our emotions. That's not something that we really see in Metroidvania games very often. I'm kind of curious to see how that one turns out, but in terms of its combat style, it's looking really good right now. Of course, we've only got a limited amount of gameplay, but I like what we've seen so far. And if you are interested in this one, again, you might want to go wishlist this over on Steam. We don't have a release date just yet, but right now it's set for a quote-unquote coming soon. For whatever that means. I mean, at least you can put it on your wish list if you are interested in 9 Years of Shadow. Let's go ahead and talk about Halo Infinite for a moment, though, because one big absence for this week, being the week of Gamescom, was a single-player campaign reintroduction for Halo Infinite. I really thought that they were going to show it this week, but unfortunately, we just did not get that. Now, of course, we got that cinematic multiplayer trailer, which looks really good. Then we also got the Xbox Series X limited edition console, as well as the Elite version 2 Halo controller, both of which are selling out crazy fast. Yeah, just another thing to thank scalpers for. Yippee, right? But yeah, unfortunately, we just have not seen single-player footage of Halo Infinite since that infamous Craig demo. And this does have some fans concerned that maybe Halo Infinite is just not ready yet. And well, 343 Industries, they're aware of the concerns going around right now, and they did talk about why we have not seen that reintroduction just yet. So let's just go check out what 343 had to say. If you'll forgive a bit of aviation geekery, the entirety of the team is essentially in a sterile cockpit, which is to say, we're at a critical phase in the flight that is Halo Infinite, so it's extremely important to avoid distractions and stay focused on mission-critical tasks only. For a campaign, that means putting maximum effort into ensuring the wide-open, adventure-filled experience you'll all get to play on December 8th is as great as it can possibly be. And gameplay demos and trailers not only take a huge amount of effort to do well, they also take cycles away from bugs and other shutdown tests. And okay, there you have it. It looks like 343 is really buckling down right now and just trying to polish up Halo Infinite as much as they possibly can before that release on December 8th. And I think that is pretty reasonable, really. They do note that they're trying to ensure the game is optimized well across a range of PC and console hardware, and that is something to kind of keep in mind. Halo Infinite is going to be releasing on multiple platforms this time, and they're trying to get it working on everything the best they possibly can. I imagine the Xbox Series X will probably be one of the easier platforms to get this running properly on. But yeah, it is quite a task with getting rid of all of the different bugs across all of these different devices, whether it be the Xbox One or the various PC platforms across the industry. And I mean, it does seem like they're trying pretty hard to do everything they possibly can to get this game out on December 8th. I mean, this is Halo's 20th anniversary. It was already delayed by a year, so their main focus right now is absolutely on the development of Halo Infinite rather than a single-player campaign reveal. Sure, I do want to see a gameplay trailer for that single-player campaign, and I am sure that we will get that before release, but I think that they're going to try to make this game look as good as they possibly can before we get that big gameplay reveal. I mean, especially after what happened last year with that infamous Craig demo. I mean, that trailer had a pretty strong reaction within the game community, and I think that they're going to try to right their wrong with that by just trying to make this game look as good as they possibly can. I think when they do eventually show it, I think it's going to wow some people. I think it's going to be a night and day difference compared to what we saw last year with that Craig demo. And for that matter, and I keep saying this, but I really thought that the gameplay for that demo, I thought it looked fun. It reminded me a lot of the original trilogy, and that's exactly what I want to see. It did seem like Halo Infinite's kind of going back to the core of what Halo really is, though it does have some mix of the newfound Halo as well. I think what they're doing so far with Halo Infinite is really smart, and we kind of saw more of that with the Halo Infinite multiplayer. And it seems like almost everybody that played the Halo Infinite multiplayer, yeah, they came away impressed. So I think if anything, I think Halo Infinite's going to be a fun game, and really now we're just kind of waiting to see the visuals and what the story will be like. like in Halo Infinite. Now, with all that in mind, when will we actually see Halo Infinite's reintroduction to that single-player campaign? And, I mean, right now, we don't really have a hint as to when that will happen. It just seems like as of this moment, they're more focused on getting this game shipped out by December 8th and just polishing the game up as much as possible. And then closer to release, we'll probably get that big reveal. I don't know if they're going to be doing an EXO event this year, but if they do something like that, I mean, maybe we could see it there, or maybe they just drop a random trailer one day. I mean, with as big as Halo is, they could very easily do something like that and just drop a trailer, and I'm sure social media would just take it and it would just absolutely explode from there. Either way, they are prioritizing making this game as good as they possibly can before that December 8th release. Next up, let's talk about Nintendo for a moment, because it looks like they have shut down yet another really promising fan-made project. Now, this doesn't really come as some big surprise, but disappointing? Yeah, this is more than just a little disappointing. So earlier this year, Team Skew released a demo for Prime 2D, which was a remake of Metroid Prime in the 2D format. And truthfully, Prime 2D looked absolutely beautiful. I think the art style in this game is very pleasing and something that I think Nintendo themselves needs to take note from. It looks striking in motion, and yeah, this game was very promising. The thing about them releasing this demo, though, and I said it right away, this game's never going to see a full release, because we've seen this time and time again. Nintendo will absolutely shut down these fan-made projects. Yeah, it sucks because a lot of these fan-made projects are very promising, but, well, we saw it happen once again. Yeah, this was announced over on Discord, and let's just go and check out what they had to say. Hello, dedicated fans. This is the announcement you have been dreading. We have been asked by a certain games-related company to discontinue work on Prime 2D in its current form. We have removed the demo download and soundtrack MP3 download, and we are currently in dialogue with that company to determine how best to proceed for both parties. So there you have it, and even though this isn't really a major surprise or anything, I think most people figured this was going to happen as soon as that demo released. Even if it's not necessarily surprising, it's still unfortunately disappointing. This game really did have a lot of promise, and even though they don't specifically say that Nintendo's the one that shut this project down, it's fairly obvious here. I, however, did find it interesting that they are still in conversations with Nintendo on what they should do next, and honestly, I mean, if I was Nintendo, and I don't think that this is actually going to happen, but if I was Nintendo, I would just go ahead and hire these people and say, hey, make us a full remake of Prime 2D, and then we will put it on the Nintendo eShop. That's what I would personally do myself. Give them the resources to make this legitimately happen, and Nintendo can make some money off of it themselves. Will this happen? Probably not, but this is something that we've seen with a lot of these fan-made demos in the past. Sometimes these fan-made projects, they do lead to people getting hired. As an example, the Metroid AM2R guy, he actually got hired by Moon Studios, which ironically works on one of the best Metroidvania games of all time, being Ori. Really, Ori and the Will of the Wisps is my favorite Metroidvania, and yeah, the AM2R guy, he works with Moon Studios now. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all if somebody takes a look at Prime 2D and they pick up some of the talent that's worked on that game. Regardless, though, I know it's disappointing that Nintendo shut down yet another fan-made project, but at the same time, I do understand why they would do something like this. This is their IP, and they want to have control of it, but you know what, Nintendo? Really, you might want to consider hiring these people yourself, because this game looks excellent. And just throwing that out there. On to our final topic of the day, though, and this will end the week of Gamescom, and that is about Elden Ring. No, we did not get a new Elden Ring trailer here at this year's Gamescom, but however, a new 16-minute gameplay demo was shown behind the scenes to several people in the media. So we're actually getting a lot of hands-off impressions from several media outlets right now, and if you are interested in Elden Ring as I am, you might want to go check out some of these impressions from that demo. Several different media outlets have covered this, whether that be Fextra Life, you have IGN has covered it, Eurogamer, and really the list just kind of goes on and on. If you want to go check out those impressions, definitely do so. Now, I'm not going to talk about this too much just because it's going to be better to just listen to the first-hand impressions when it comes to this game, but I have noticed a few common threads when it comes to Elden Ring, and one is that this game is going to offer a lot of creative freedom. Of course, it's your typical Dark Souls experience, but it's going to offer a lot more choice because of its big open-ended world. Apparently, it's going to be a lot more open-ended than what some people even realize. It's actually drawing comparisons right now from Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is definitely an interesting comparison, but it actually sounds pretty good. Elden Ring does have different dungeons throughout its world, and even those dungeons offers different creative choices. As an example, one of those dungeons you can either choose to go in through the front gates, which might be quicker, but will have a lot more enemies to fight through. Or you can take a side route, which might be more narrow and a little bit longer, but yeah, you have that option. And really, everything that I've heard from with the impressions, I mean, yeah, it sounds like another Dark Souls game, which I love, but it also sounds much more ambitious, whether it be with its gameplay, its world, or even its story. It does seem like it's going to have a more focused story this time. And yeah, I think that Elden Ring is going to be yet another really special Soulsborne-like experience. I really do recommend checking out some of the hands-off impressions, though. I will leave some links in the description below. On to the poll of the day, though, and we're actually going to talk about Halo Infinite just a bit more, but here I actually asked you all, are you all concerned that we still have not gotten a reintroduction for Halo Infinite's single-player campaign? As I mentioned earlier, a lot of people are concerned, but I wanted to know your all's thoughts, and well, 59% of you said no, you're not concerned about the lack of that single-player campaign reintroduction. And you know what, really, I'm with you all on this one. And the reason I say that is because I'm pretty confident that this game is going to look much better than what we saw last time, and I've always really thought the gameplay side of things looked good. It's really more or less now about the story for me. Can they make a good story for Halo Infinite? And that kind of remains to be seen. But in terms of gameplay and visuals, I think it's going to be a fun game, and I do think it's going to be a good-looking game. 343 Industries in the past, whether that be with Halo 4 or Halo 5, both of those games visually looked really good. So I think that when all said and done, Halo Infinite is going to be a good-looking game. In terms of gameplay, we've saw with the multiplayer, it's really strong. That single-player demo that they showed last year, even if it wasn't visually very good, in terms of gameplay, it looked like a lot of fun. So I'm just going to remain optimistic and be patient here. I'm not going to worry about something until we get a trailer that tells me that I need to worry about it. But I think that we're going to see a pretty big improvement over last year's reveal when we do eventually see it. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. But if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.